Owen McKendry, once again for Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat. Delighted to be joined by Bradley Ray. Bradley, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you, mate. Deep into camp at the moment, so just very repetitive days. But yeah, mate, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the training.
How's camp gone for yourself so far?
Yeah, it's gone well, mate. I've actually had quite a long camp here. I've had quite a rough idea of when I was going to be out, which it's nice to have a little bit of notice. So yeah, I've been going for a good 10 weeks or so now. It's been tough, it's been grueling, but I've enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying my training at the moment.
Like you say, it's been tough, it's been grueling, but the big news is you're on a home show in Manchester, a big card, big arena. What are your thoughts and feelings on that? Sort of like the pressure behind it. Obviously, you're stepping up to quite a decent place on the undercard. How will you deal with sort of like the emotions, the ecstasy, all in sort of together as you make that ring walk?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a great night. Um, it's a great card. Obviously, like I said, in my hometown at Manchester Arena, I've got my first title shot, and there's nowhere else I'd prefer it. I've got a tough test. I'm in there with a very, very, very good fighter in Tyler Denny, and I know it's going to be a tough night's work. But for me, I think having that home advantage and having the crowd behind me a little bit, I think that'll give me that little edge, that little percentage of encouragement. Whereas for some people it could potentially go the other way. You could be nervous further up the card, like you say, your first title fight in your hometown. But for me, I just think it's going to give me that little push, that little extra percent.
So like we say, you're up against Tyler Denny. Tyler's is a tough, gritty southpaw. How will you cope with him being a southpaw, and how do you sort of prepare for an awkward fighter like that?
Yeah, it is awkward. I'm not going to beat around the bush and say it's not, because most orthodox fighters will tell you the same thing. It takes a bit of time to adjust. But I've not just had 14 professional fights now where I've boxed a couple of southpaws. I had nearly 100 amateur fights. I've been in there plenty of times with southpaw fighters. Literally all my sparring for this camp has been southpaw sparring. Been doing southpaw pads. So, like I say, although it can be quite difficult sometimes to adapt. I think I've prepared in a way that hopefully it won't seem that way. Like you say, Tyler's a very, very good fighter, and the southpaw aspect of it can throw a bit of a spanner in the works. But we've got a game plan that we're going to follow, and I'm confident that I've got what it takes to get the win.
So last time out for Tyler himself, obviously where he won the English title against River Wilson Bent. So I was sat ringside at that fight, and he's done it previously, and he done it on that night. He sort of towards the latter rounds, he was dragging River Wilson into the trenches, forcing him to fight Tyler Denny's fight, which was sort of not necessarily going to war, but it was sort of exchanging in the pocket type thing where your guard sort of drops. Is that something that you're prepared for? And is that something you've been working towards, the fact that he's going to look to drag you into deep waters?
Yeah, definitely. Tyler's a game fighter, and if it comes down to it, he can stand his ground and he can let his hands go. It won't take much to convince me to stand with him and have it out. I think, like you say, being in my hometown, as soon as the crowd starts getting a little bit excited when we start exchanging, that'll be me. And I think it can be quite deceiving sometimes. I can, have a go on the inside if it comes down to that. And I'm confident that if I've got to do that against Tyler, it'll give me the advantage. But yeah, it definitely won't take too much convincing for me to stand and trade with him. No way.
So is that something you are quite confident on then? Because obviously every fighter has a game plan that ideally, when they step through the ropes for the full duration of the fight, it goes how they've planned. We have seen within your 14 fights so far, you've shown obviously you can box and move brilliantly, but you've also shown you can take a punch and you are happy to, okay, let's see what you've got. I'll show you what I've got. We'll stand and trade. So is that something you're confident on in terms of you can adapt? So you've got the game plan, but if Tyler decides we want to go to war, you'd be comfortable with, okay, let's go to war and I'll show you who's the better man.
Yeah, definitely. I think every fighter has, your dream game plan that you have when you get in the ring. And don't get me wrong, a nice 10-round convincing boxing lesson won't go amiss. But I've shown in the past that if it comes down to it, I've got to bite down on my gum shield and throw the game plan out the window and just see who wants to win the fight more. I've got that in me. And that Tyler has. You've seen it in the past. So, I think when you get two fighters like ourselves in the ring, at some point it'll catch fire. And, I think, like I said, we're both happy to kind of see who's going to give ground first.
So as you've mentioned yourself as well, it's your first title fight. It's for the English title. It's quite a prestigious title to win in terms of it can be sort of your opening level into titles and then you work your way through. Would it be sort of beat Tyler, take the English? Would it be looking to straight move on to British title fights after? Or would it be a case of have you and your team planned it out, take the English title, maybe defend that once or twice and then sort of move through the ranks?
To be honest, I've just got my eyes set on Tyler at the moment, November 12th, and getting the job done. What comes after that, we can cross that bridge when we come to it, because I know how much of a tough fight I've got coming up. I know that the board have ordered the winner of me and Tyler. I've got to defend first against Brad Pauls, which is a fight that I've been massively interested in. The domestic middleweight division is just that I could probably hold that English title for about a year and just defend it, and have these great fights. There's so many good fights to be made. I'm still only 24. Mm-hmm. I'm in no rush, but I feel like I'm getting to the stage now where I'm ready to throw myself into some big fights, and that starts November 12th with Tyler Denny, and then after that we can see what goes from there.
So, like you say yourself, obviously that fight's been ordered, but the British middleweight rankings at the moment, as you go through them, are stacked. As you get towards sort of like the top level of the British middleweight rankings, you've got your Felix Cashiers, your Denzel Bentleys, Leon Williams, Anthony Fowler, Sam Eggington. Are any of those names something you're looking towards as a fight, or is it just take whatever comes into your path?
For me, I'm quite a realistic guy. For me, if I got offered one of them fights next from a career point of view, I wouldn't think it's the right time. Mm-hmm. I think I need a couple of tough kind of get some rounds under my belt. I want to be in 10, 12 round fights, and then maybe in a year's time, they're the type of fights that I'll be looking at. I'm not going to say I'm ready to get in with anyone and everyone and whoever wants it. Me and my team we've got a path that we set out from my debut, and the English title was always kind of the first stop on that path, the first goal. So, like I said, we'll go November 12th, see how we got on November 12th. If we get the job done, we can reassess and see what's next. But for me, I think I'm a couple of fights kind of just off that level. I'm knocking on the door, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like a little bit more kind of doing the rounds, get the rounds under my belt. And then, we can go from there. We can see what's happening in maybe 12 months' time.
Do you see this as sort of like a coming out fight in terms of you win the English title, it's your hometown in Manchester, so you've got a good fan base around sort of Manchester and the Northwest. So is this sort of like a coming out fight in terms of it's going to be a big card, it's likely to be televised, so do you see it as a chance to sort of like increase your fan base? Because a Tyler Denny fight is going to be an exciting fight. I mean, you've showed yourself as well from the way your fights have gone, it's always going to be an exciting fight. So the measure we've got at the moment is this fight's going to be brilliant. And with the undercard it's going to be on, do you sort of see that as like a coming out in sense of you could increase the fan base?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I kind of have that mentality every time I fight. I want someone who's never seen me box before to go, but the hell, he's all right, I'll watch him again. But again, that's another reason why we wanted to go the domestic route, go the English. You know, it's very easy nowadays to kind of international belts, you know, in belts and all this, and go that route, and you know, work your way up fighting these foreign opponents who, you know, are good tests. But for the fans who are tuning in, they want to see two lads that they know, you know what I mean, and with each other. And I think the promoters are very quickly getting on to now that if you get two local lads who, you know, they don't have to be undefeated, whatever, or two lads from small or promoters and bang them on the undercard, you know, you're going to get exciting fights. And for me, I think them type of fights, when in 12 months, you know, them big fights start coming, I think these type of fights now are what, you know, put you in good stead for them. Tough, grueling 10 rounds that you have to grind them out. And, you know, like I say, I've never been there before. I've never done the 10 rounds. So there's a question mark there whether we can do it. You know, Tyler's done it multiple times. You know, and that's why I'm working so hard in the gym and putting the work in. Make sure on fight night, you know, I'm 100% prepared.
So has it always been, like you say, the traditional route then? Because obviously it's so common now that sort of 9-10 fights in, we see the, not necessarily younger, because we've seen a lot of amateurs turn pro quite late as well. But in boxing terms, sort of like the younger careers go through your IBF International, your WBA Intercontinental. Has your sort of mindset always been to traditional English, British, and then potentially like European, or then comes sort of like your international bouts?
Yeah, 100%. That's always been the goal. Always been the route that me and my coach have talked about and wanted to go down. Like I say, the English title was kind of the first stop on that. If, you know, after this, some kind of international belt or something, you know, comes up, then I'll be happy to fight for it. But that English title, like you said, is quite prestigious, and it's always been one that you know, I wanted to take off the list. You know, I'm just happy that I get the chance to do that November 12th.
And then obviously preparing for your first title fight, you've got Ricky Hatton in your camp. Obviously, he's an idol of yours. We've seen from when you was an amateur copying the Costa Zoo blue shorts from that fight night. How does it help having someone that's been there and had the biggest of big nights, you know, especially in Manchester? He's had those huge nights at the Etihad. How does Ricky help with yourself as like sort of like a mentor?
Yeah, it's great having him on board and, you know, part of the team in the gym and in the changing rooms on fight night. You know, this time will be a little bit different because they'll be warming up with me. But, you know, it's just, I couldn't have asked for anyone better. You know, the goals and aspirations that I've got and the things I want to achieve, he's been there and he's done it all. And, you know, he's got the T-shirt and, you know, for the little bits of knowledge and, you know, the little tips and the little bits of advice, like, I literally couldn't ask for anyone better.
Brad, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with yourself tonight. One message for the fans ahead of fight night?
Yeah, just big thank you to everyone for the support as always, and, you know, tune in November 12th or buy a ticket because, you know, as you said, it's going to be a great fight. You know, two lads who are really ready to put it on the line and leave it all in the ring. So I think it's only going one way.
Perfect. Brad, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I look forward to watching you on the 12th of November, and good luck.
Top man, thank you very much. Speak to you soon, mate. Bye.